It's time for the One Bar and Lupaga Show, bringing you anything and everything Minnesota Vikings.
Welcome to professional football.
All right, welcome back to the One Bar and Lupaga Show. We got Alistair Corp joining us today from Field Gulls, one of the biggest Seattle Seahawks websites out there. Check it out, fieldgulls.com. We'll have links to Alistair's Twitter website down below in the description for sure. Alistair, welcome to SKOL'ing With the Enemy. Thanks for joining the One Bar and Lupaga Show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about the game. It's always fun. We get Seahawks in primetime, and especially against a familiar opponent.
Familiar opponent. That is to say the least. You guys have owned us, and it has not been fun. So this is going to be a lot more fun for you than us. But we're going to get to know those pesky Seahawks right off the bat. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sure you are a peach of a guy, and this is going to be fantastic. But the Seattle Seahawks are a zit on my ass. They are right up there with the Packers. Mostly because you have owned us. You guys are 6-0 in the last meetings, and it has not been fun to play the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know if it's the fact that you've beat us so badly so often. I don't know if it's because Pete Carroll, the way he chooses gum, drives me absolutely insane. But this will be fun. So again, thanks for joining us, and let's hop right into this. Can I ask you, does Pete Carroll gum chewing bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me so much. I think that's like an opposing fan thing that it seems to get on their nerves. It's kind of a bit though, for sure. We definitely like to make fun of it, but you're not alone in getting aggravated by it.
Well, I'm glad you at least acknowledge it. I wouldn't be mad if Mike Zimmer chewed his gum like that. I would actually love it. I'd love the fact that it pissed other people off. But the Seahawks and Vikings have quite the connection over the years. Players just swapping hands over and over. They got, John Randall, one of our best players of all time, Seahawk, Tavares Jackson, Percy Harvin, Steve Hutchinson, Nate Burleson. Who am I missing? Sidney Rice. You guys even signed Blair Walsh. There's something with the Vikings and Seahawks.
Yeah, it's because they kind of have similar philosophies. I think Mike Zimmer and Pete Carroll are kind of cut from the same cloth as far as heavy running game, defense, kind of build the defense from the secondary upward. And then there's also like the shared DNA of Darrell Bevel coming to Seattle from Minnesota, which I think is kind of why we saw T-Jack, Sidney Rice, those guys come. But yeah, I always really like the games against the Vikings because we had it similar with the Panthers, kind of mid 2010s, where every single year we seemingly were playing them, and it almost became like another divisional foe. And now it's the Vikings, where I think this is 3 straight years they played, 3 straight years in prime time where they have to come to Seattle, which has to be so frustrating to have to continuously come play in prime time, where obviously not as imposing this year, but not a great place to have to come prime time. But yeah, they're always really fun. I love when teams with similar styles come up against one another, especially a team like the Seahawks and Vikings, where they're just going to punch each other in the mouth for 4 quarters, and it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I hope it's close. Getting into it, Seattle, like I said, 6-0, the last 6 meetings with the Vikings. Russell Wilson has never lost to the Vikings. Just being straight up, do you love the fact that you get to play the Vikings this week? Are you excited to play the Vikings this week?
Yeah, I'm excited because they've looked quite poor so far, so that makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, it's always just kind of a fun one. They definitely they go back and forth. Even last year there was the blown coverage towards the end that kind of made it a game. So weird stuff always seems to happen. And yeah, they're just kind of one of those opponents I really look forward to. It's, Vikings, Packers, teams like that outside the division they're just so much fun to play. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game despite kind of, 4-0, 1-3, but they're much closer than those records suggest.
Yeah, last year we got a little bit of false hope there when Anthony Harris had that pick 6 right off the bat, and then then it went to shit real quick. Seattle 4-0, first in their division, but let's be straight. Their opponents haven't been overly fantastic. Their opponent's record is 4-12 on the season. I haven't watched any Seattle games this year. They seem mildly close as far as when it comes to the score. Are you sold on Seattle being a contender and making a run in the playoffs?
Yeah, it's almost a really simple answer, but yes, I am, and it's just because of Russell Wilson. Like now that he's playing, he's exceeded my expectations. I thought maybe he could be a top 5 quarterback, and he has been a top 5 quarterback for a lot of years. I didn't think that he had this extra luck gear in him where he's looking right in Patrick Mahomes' eyes. Like, they're on the exact same tier now, and it's amazing. So always got a chance when you have that level of play at quarterback. The offense is just really loaded, even beyond Wilson. I mean, the receivers are stacked. The offensive line looks really good. Tight ends are deep. Running back depth is not going to be a problem this year. And then I think the defense will come along. So I think they're right there with kind of the class of the NFC. And it all just goes back to Wilson. If you have Wilson under center, you got a chance. And he's just so durable that I don't see that changing, thankfully.
Yeah, you guys are quite lucky there with Mr. Wilson. So the offense, you guys are, like you said, you guys are pretty well set. When it comes to defense, help me with this one, because you guys have given up some huge yards in the air. I know teams have been down, so they've been chucking it, but your secondary is Griffin, Jamal Adams, Diggs. What am I missing? Why does it seem like that is a weak point?
Yeah, it's definitely been a little bit concerning. It was funny after the Adams trade. We saw some people online talking about, oh, this is the Legion of Boom 2.0. Oh, is this secondary even going to be better than the Legion of Boom? You're like, oh my gosh, you cannot go into the season with those kinds of expectations, because you're just going to be devastated, because that's a Hall of Fame group. But I kind of been blaming it on two different things. I think a lack of pressure up front has been a really big impact on that secondary. Obviously, you can't really cover for 3, 4, 5 seconds. That's just asking for disaster. And then because of that lack of pressure, they've had to send blitzes a lot. I think they're blitzing at maybe the 3rd, 4th highest rate in the NFL. And Jamal Adams is a big part of that. Tailed off in week 4 when Adams wasn't there. They blitzed, I think, only maybe 12 plays, which is far below his season rate this year. But I think you can also put a little bit of the blame on their slow start, especially in the secondary, on no preseason, no OTAs. It's such a communication heavy group for Seattle, because it's so zone heavy that, if you're kind of passing one person off to the other, you can't always communicate that verbally, but you need to have that cohesion. You just don't have it yet. I do think it's going to click. I kind of keep saying that I'm thinking about the defense in the same way that I think about like the Saints in the early 2010s, where the offense is so potent that the defense just kind of needs to be good enough. Get it to a place of good enough where you're not sabotaging the team's efforts, and that's awesome. I think they can get there. And once they get there, then Seattle can hang with absolutely anybody. And it doesn't really matter if they get above that. I think they can, but don't need to for them to succeed.
All right, I think I already know the answer to this one, but were you a fan of the Jamal Adams trade, just straight up?
Yes. It's a complicated question, because I think it was really, really important for them to add a truly elite talent. I didn't love the cost of it, but yeah, I think that it was so important for them to add that elite talent that if it costs 2 first-round picks, it costs 2 first-round picks. And then now that he's in the building, I kind of get it, because Pete Carroll's such a culture guy, and Jamal Adams, like, he embodies everything Pete wants his program to be. So I think it'll be worth it on and off the field. Yeah, and he's a guy where I wasn't a huge Jamal Adams fan. I kind of didn't love his personality. He's obviously a really energetic dude, but I found his entire drama in New York kind of exhausting. As soon as he arrived in Seattle, I was like, oh, I get it. This guy is contagious energy, super easy to like. Yeah, so I'm all on board now.
Yeah, of course. He's a Seahawk, man. You're going to love him instantly, regardless. I know how you feel.
Exactly.
All right. Offense, big time. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, huge part of that. It will keep me sleepless from probably Friday until Sunday night. And not to mention David Moore. What the hell? This guy's even putting up numbers all of a sudden. How good is your receiving core? And especially against a very young and just inexperienced secondary for the Vikings, how scared should Vikings fans really be? How good are they?
They're amazing. They are amazing. I wish I could tell you something to make you feel a little bit more comfortable. But
yeah, that's rude. That's very rude.
I'm sorry. You're the host too. It's poor decorum on my part. But
no way. Bring it on. Come on. DK Metcalf. Let's hear it.
They're fantastic. I mean, I think like Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson, that connection is what drives the offense. Like if that is off, then the offense is off. But they're so on it. And it's going on 3 seasons of them being like almost a perfect connection. It's absurd how good they are together. Then DK Metcalf, I'm almost running out of things to say about him. All offseason, anytime I'd be on any program and I'd be asked about him, it was basically my kind of line on him was, I'm not comfortable putting a ceiling on his game because I don't know where that ceiling is yet. Like, I know he's going to be a star. I don't know how good. And that is still the same thing now. I think he's going to be a superstar. He's taken clearly another level up. he's on pace for like 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 65 catches. Like, he's averaging 25 yards a reception right now. Guys have to respect his deep speed so well. Like, he could be coming across the middle, and if he just gives you the slightest step up field, that cornerback's bailing off because they're just so scared of getting beat over the top. Yeah, they're absolutely incredible, and I don't know how you defend them because one guy can just kill you with 100 paper cuts, and then DK Metcalf is just like the shotgun blast, and it's epic, it's brutal. But yeah, they are exactly as good as advertised.
All right, thank you. I'll be drinking a lot of NyQuil from here on out. I still think back to that draft where DK Metcalf just kept sliding and sliding, and it's just like, what the hell? Why is nobody taking DK Metcalf? He's making them pay for it.
Yeah, at some point, like, teams are just trying to outsmart themselves. You throw a dart at that guy, even if it's pick 40. Like, okay, he had some concerns, but yeah, getting to 64 was wild, and thank my lucky stars it happened.
What did you do last week when he got that ball taken away from him right before the end zone?
Yeah, that's okay. Did you? No, I don't get too up or too down anymore. I'll tell you, once you lose a Super Bowl the way the Seahawks lost the Super Bowl, nothing can hurt you anymore. Hey,
you're talking to a Vikings fan. I know how you feel.
No, I said once you make the Super Bowl, though. You know.
Yeah. All right, this is good. All right. Let's find out where the Seahawks blow, where the Vikings actually have a chance to take advantage. What is their biggest weakness on their roster right now?
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head earlier. It's still the defense. Until the defense can kind of prove that they can get a couple stops, then it's still a question mark. I know Vikings fans aren't totally convinced with Kirk Cousins, or maybe they are convinced that he is not it. But I think the Vikings can kind of hang with the Seahawks. And once you get into kind of like that 1-2 score game area, like, the Vikings are well coached, they have talent, and then it just kind of becomes like that coin toss of which way the bounces go. If you recover an onside kick, if you get that fourth down conversion. So I think they can play him close. I mean, Justin Jefferson, wow, what a star. I mean, that guy he's unbelievable. We're talking about DK Metcalf. I mean, Jefferson looks already like, you had last year where Philly took Arcega-Whiteside before Metcalf. This year they took Rieger before Jefferson, and I think those two decisions are going to haunt them for a long time.
Poor guys, poor Philly.
Yeah,
fan. Man, that's brutal.
Yeah. If it wasn't Philadelphia, I would feel like a little bit bad, but it's Philadelphia, so don't feel bad.
I don't feel bad at all. I love it. I can't wait.
Yeah. And I mean, to trade a guy like Diggs and then to get a guy like Jefferson that they're just so aesthetically pleasing to watch. Jefferson's the guy that scares me the most, for sure. And I do think the Vikings offense can hang with Seattle, unless the Seahawks defense kind of suddenly comes alive, which I don't think is going to happen. They don't have Jamal Adams again this week. So it's the offense is what worries me, because if you get into like that 1-score game at the end, like you said, anything can happen. And yeah, that's a little bit of a worry.
Yeah, I don't think there will be a lack of points come Sunday. It's just a matter of how many points the Seahawks can manage to score. That's what scares me.
Pretty much.
Thinking of scaring, there's got to be something about the Vikings that at least has you a little bit worried. What scares you while playing the Vikings on primetime Sunday night?
Yeah, I mean, if healthy, I would have said that pass rush, just because the idea of like the Daniil Hunter and Ngakoue pairing is terrifying. But obviously that's kind of a little bit off right now. But it's a guy going back to Jet. Like, I'm going to keep talking about Justin Jefferson, and he's what I'm going to write about this week about the Vikings, because I'm already in love with this game, but he's the type of receiver that gives the Seattle defense fits, just because, their entire thing is keeping the receivers in front of them. And that's why you see a guy like Keenan Allen shred them when he has played them, because like the elite route runners are guys who are going to feast against that defense. And Jefferson, I think, is going to be consistently getting space. Seattle might be without Dunbar, who's their second corner, which again, bad matchup. So yeah, it's Thielen and it's Jefferson, but Jefferson especially, I think if people are still a little bit slow to knowing the name outside of Minnesota, just because they haven't played in primetime yet, I think this week is going to be the one where he kind of becomes a part of that national conversation, as like maybe he's the guy in this draft class among receivers.
All right. Once again, we have Alistair Corp from fieldgoals.com joining us. Check him out. We are SKOL'ing with the enemy. Alistair, if you could pick one Viking off our roster right now and put him in that gross Seattle Seahawks uniform, who are you taking?
I said the name, but it's got to be Daniil Hunter. I mean, obviously it's a really shitty injury situation right now, but probably the best 4-3 pass rusher in the NFL. Just amazing. And Seattle can't get after the quarterback at all. So a guy like Daniil Hunter would look really good, just like you said, not in the action green, maybe just like the blue
Hey, based off of our history, I'm sure he'll be a Seahawk before he retires.
Yeah.
Almost guarantee that. So the
Perfect.
Vikings have their players right now that drive them nuts when they're on the field. We just bitch about them. It makes us very gross in our parts. Pat Elflein, Drew Samia. Who is the Seahawk that when he's on the field, he makes you cringe and you just want him replaced? Who is that guy?
I mean, last year would have been a really easy answer because I could have just said Michael Kendricks, and that would have been a really nice, simple answer. But there's a lot of talent across the roster, so I have a hard time picking a guy. There's a third safety they like to play named Lano Hill, who was absolutely brutal last year. It kind of used him as like a tight end matchup defender in the past. So maybe you'll see him, whether it's like Rudolph or Irv Smith. But
I hope
he's
so.
he's the one guy who makes me cringe a little bit. But the Minnesota needs to start throwing Irv Smith the ball is the kind of thing that I'm a little bit frustrated about, just as an outside observer. I'm not sure if that's a thing that Vikings fans are frustrated about, but I'm not sure why he isn't more involved. But if he's involved on Sunday, then he's going to kill Lano Hill.
Well, it is something Vikings fans are very, very pissed off about and just shocked. I mean, this was supposed to be his coming out year. Kyle Rudolph was supposed to take a back seat, Irv Smith, and I think he's got like 5 targets. It's been very tough to watch.
And
so
he's playing,
I'm
right?
hoping this is his coming out party.
Yeah, like he's been playing a pretty good amount of the snaps, so he just isn't getting the ball thrown to him.
He's having a tough start to the season, some dumb penalties. And they're focusing on the wide receivers. So hopefully this is his game. Big Irv comes to play.
Yeah, well, if it is, then you'll see Lano Hill dragging him down after long catches, no doubt.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. On the other side of the coin, which Seahawk doesn't get the love he deserves? Who's the underdog in your squad?
It's funny, you'd actually mentioned him previously. David Moore is a guy that Seahawks fans kind of started to be annoyed with last year. He had a brutal collarbone injury right before the season, and his entire game is kind of like the jump ball, and the range of motion just wasn't there. So he's kind of coming alive, which is really exciting. One of my guys on the team is Poona Ford. He's the one tech. He's just so much fun. He's just a bowling ball. He's kind of my pride and joy, and he's a guy who's really, really adept for defending a guy like Dalvin Cook, who's going to kind of press the corner and try to tune their corner, because Ford's really good at defending laterally. So if they're going to slow down Cook, like Ford is going to be the guy, and not a huge name in the national conversation right now, but I think he's one of the better run defenders in the NFL, and he'll play a big role on Sunday.
Poona Ford out of Texas. I wanted him in purple so bad. Was he 5th round? Was he 5th round?
No, he was undrafted, which is still the stupidest thing. Yeah, we took his punter in the 5th round. He had
short arms, right? Didn't he have tiny little arms?
Yeah, he's got little short arms. He's like 5'10", but phenomenal run defender, great athlete. And it still doesn't make any sense that he went undrafted.
Yeah, Lupagus might have been the biggest, or my co-host might have been the biggest Poona Ford fan ever. And he wanted him in purple so bad.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Vikings fans right now, at a 1-3 start, our one win against the 0-3 Texans, nothing to get too excited about. We got to get excited about maybe being a trap game. Any worries about the Seahawks just looking past the Vikings this week and maybe getting that big old L at home?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I am very much of like, I think they could have lost any of their first 3 games of the season. Certainly that Patriots game coming right down to the end. Maybe not the Atlanta game because they kind of handled it, but Minnesota's a team that can play them close. It's the style of team that's caused them problems in the past. And I know that Cousins is kind of like a divisive topic among Vikings fans, but he's a guy who's never like backed down when he's playing at CenturyLink. And obviously it's not going to be the same environment this time with no fans in the stands, but you have seen quarterbacks at times kind of wilt against the Seahawks defense. And that's never been Cousins, for better or for worse. You know, sometimes he takes shots downfield that he shouldn't, but he's a guy that I think isn't really afraid to like kind of take the fight to Seattle. So yeah, I think if it's kind of a 1-score game at the end, who the heck knows what could happen. And yeah, I think they're a good opponent for Seattle, and I think they're better than 1-3 says. I still think they're kind of the best team in the NFC North. I think they're the best roster, maybe not the best team right now, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of turn it around. There's too much talent on that team for them to be a cellar dweller.
Yeah, it is shocking. It is shocking to watch. But to wrap this up, a couple quickies. I got to ask you on the draft picks the last couple of years. The Seahawks in round 1, at least, they found some decent guys in the mid rounds, but round 1, it seems like they just like get a little crazy. I mean, LJ Collier, Jordan Brooks, Rashad Penny, McDowell in round 2. As a Seahawks fan, when these guys are drafted, are you at least like, okay, we had some visits with them. I'm not that surprised because everyone else, including myself, like I almost shit my pants when I took some of these guys.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time before the draft kind of trying to focus in on the guys who fit their athletic build, their height, weight, threshold, everything like that. And yeah, Collier was especially one where I was shocked. I was absolutely stunned. They were very vocal about their interest in him, and I kind of doubted it because he just didn't make any sense. And then I get frustrated because once that happens, I just kind of focus on, okay, it's happened, then let's get to it, let's analyze. And then other people are still very, very frustrated about it. So that happened a lot with the Brooks stuff and the Collier stuff. Yeah, definitely they don't handle the top of the draft like other teams. It is very curious, but they do their work in the middle rounds. And like you said, they found some gems. It sucks that Jordan Brooks is injured right now because they could really use him. But yeah, they definitely are curious on day one. That is very true.
Well, that's good to know. At least I'm not overly insane. I'm mildly insane, but not overly insane. So that makes sense. Final. Any prediction for Sunday? What are you thinking?
I think the Seahawks do win, but I think 1-score game probably comes down to the end. I think probably a turnover kind of seals it. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. No part of me is looking past this, and nor should Seahawks fans, because like the defense hasn't proven to be able to kind of shut down a game. So yeah, it really wouldn't surprise me if the Vikings defense can kind of cause some trouble. Hope maybe Yannick Ngakoue comes alive and torments him a little bit. But I think it's going to be a really good game. 1 score, and then, once it comes down to the death, who the heck knows what happens.
All right. Well, so what you're saying is the Seahawks are going to win. It's going to be close, and it's come down to the end. So I will not sleep Sunday night. I appreciate that. Now, Alistair, thank you once again for joining the One Bar and Lupagus show. Appreciate it. Again, check them out on Twitter, fieldgoals.com. Links will be down in the description. And yeah, good luck on Sunday.
Thank you. Yeah, you as well, my friend. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.